I want to make a video about what I feel is probably the most overlooked way of killing a big mature deer that most everybody that I know who is a big buck killer year after year utilizes that most normal people do not. And that is the factor of sitting back and watching. So many normal deer hunters have in their mind that I'm walking to my stand, I'm going to sit in it, and that's how we deer hunt. And the more I get to talking to guys that are very successful for 20 plus years of deer hunting, the more I realize how much they all sit back and observe the hunting area before they go in. They bounce around and observe the hunting area that they go in. And I realize a lot of them do not utilize trail cameras very often. They may if it's in certain terrain or thick cover or whatever the case may be where you can't utilize sitting back and watching. But so many guys take advantage of and do something that most people don't do, and that is sitting back with some decent optics for the whitetail hunter and looking what that deer does. There is almost every time I've killed a deer on an out-of-state hunt, with very few exceptions, I have got eyes on that deer, the morning before or the night before or the day before I actually killed that deer. To observe an animal do something on its own, see where it goes, and it's not just a snapshot of a camera, is super beneficial, especially if you can find one where it's bedding, where it's coming out of bedding, something along those lines. So what do you really need to spot deer, from distances? In the whitetail world, in my opinion, it's good to have good glass, but you don't have to have like the very high end stuff. If you're out west trophy mule deer hunting where you're looking under the ledges and behind bushes and stuff for big trophy mule deer, and you want to see, is that a 160 or is that a 180 or 200 inch mule deer, then maybe you want to go ahead and spend your $4,000 for a spotter. But I've been messing around with the Hawke Optics stuff now. I got this in about a week ago, and these things are really good for the money. I like a big spotter for whitetails. Why do I like a big spotter? I think the only reason to not get a big spotter would be like your weight and size. Like if you're backpack hunting, keeping something like this in your backpack's going to take up a lot of room, especially if you got your camp on your back. But 99.9% of the time, whenever we're whitetail hunting, it's not like we're hiking in 7 miles and sleeping on an air mat for 7 days, and we got to save every ounce that we can. So this is the big 85 millimeter. This is the Endurance ED brand from Hawke Optics. I think it's a 25 to 75 power zoom. It has some real nice features. This is a rain cover that came with it. I may take this off and just keep it handy in case I need it, but just flips back and you got all your controls right here. Again, like the binos, they're actually the eyepiece and stuff. Seems like it's built really, really well. To give you a price point, this Endurance, the big one, is around $939. A good substitute for this would be to get the 60 millimeter. It's like a 15 by 45 and a 60 millimeter. Those are looking more like at that $630 price range. To get a good quality spotter, it's pretty tough not to spend around $1,000. But I like the big ones, the big mamma jammas for whitetails. Lets in a little more light, gives you a little more zoom power typically, and I don't care about the weight of them or the size of them because I'm not. It's not like I'm walking 10 miles with this thing on my back. Even if I have to walk 2 miles with this thing on my back, not that big a deal. And then obviously a good pair of binos. Binos, just like a spotter, tough to find a real good pair for super cheap. This is the Frontier. This is a really good laser rangefinder bino. Hawke has a whole line of different optics depending on what your price point is, and I believe they got the lifetime warranty, just like about every other optic company has. And I asked Andy May one time about, and Andy May is considered one of the best deer hunters in the country right now, as far as a DIY guy goes. I asked him on a podcast, would he rather if he had to get rid of one, would he get rid of optics or trail cameras? And he had to think about it for a while. A lot of guys would be like, oh, I don't even use my binoculars most of the time, so I would keep my trail cameras. But that guy had to think about it for long and hard. And he finally came to the conclusion that he'd probably keep the trail cameras, but he wouldn't like it. So we utilize trail cameras to a exhausting extent almost, and we don't use optics. I don't go anywhere in the whitetail woods without a pair of binoculars. I just feel like you can learn so much more in the whitetail woods having a good set of optics on you at all times. Whether it be, I think I see something that's like maybe 100 yards away through the trees, can't make out what it is. Throw up your binos on it and kind of filter your way through the trees, and maybe you can see what's going on, or maybe you catch a glimpse of a rack, or you can kind of see where something moved to and make a move. And we oftentimes feel like we have to be in the stand to do that. And in reality, if you can set back a few hundred yards with a pair of binoculars, or, set back a few thousand yards with a spotter and observe a deer and make a educated move on him instead of going in there willy-nilly. So you got like 3 sets you have for a weekend. You can set Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of times we think, okay, Friday night, I'm home. I got home from work early. I'm going to this deer stand. I'm going to rush out there. I'm kind of running late, but I'm going to rush out there anyway and get in the stand. You get out there and boom, the deer is on the edge of the field when you're walking in, or whatever the case may be. He's already up out of his bed, and you don't know it, but you bumped him. And then he runs off. He's on to you. Saturday, you go hunting again, no show. You're like, man, maybe that was a fluke. Maybe Sunday he's going to come out. Sunday, he pops out, or you go hunting, nothing again, and you just wasted your whole weekend. In reality, on Friday, if you would have went out there and set back to where you're not spooking the deer, get back a couple thousand yards, or maybe get on a high point, or whatever the case may be, get your spotter out, watch, observe, okay, oh, he's coming out in a different spot than I thought he was. Then go in and make your educated guess on how to kill that deer, instead of getting all gun-ho and screwing it up before it even starts. We don't do that enough in the deer hunting woods, and the guys that are good at deer hunting, that's what they do. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hawke is actually a sponsor of mine now. They make really good stuff. It's awesome if you guys need a new pair of binos or a spotter to go out, and if you want to support me, it's a good way to support me, is go with the Hawke Optics. I don't think you're going to be disappointed in them if you're a whitetail hunter. They have a code for you guys. It's BTE, and it saves you 15% on their website. You can always go to they're in retailers also. So if you find one of the retailers, you can pick them up through those guys too. And then before you leave, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a lot more content like this as far as gear and tips and tricks. And then hit the subscribe button. Or wait, watch another video right there.